morning. I'm Ryan Bonazzo.
And I'm Catalina Gillies. The Thunder Bay Police Association has released a highly critical letter to the media about the leadership of the city police force.
It highlights a long list of issues which have local officers seemingly losing faith in their senior management team. The open letter, written by Police Association President Colin Woods, points out that violent crime has been increasing since 2016, and the association feels officers aren't getting enough support or resources to handle it. After a number of officers recently expressed their feelings, a third-party survey of members was launched, which revealed a number of concerns. The most alarming, 81% of officers felt little or no support from senior management on current issues. 66% say low police staffing levels have them concerned for their own safety and that of the community, and 76% described employee morale as negative or very negative.
We had conducted this survey earlier on this year. We brought those results to the police service, senior administration. We brought it to the police services board in the hopes of engaging in conversation and create some positive change in the police service. We can tell them all day long what the issues are. They're the ones in power to make those changes happen, and nothing has happened at this point that's, in my members' eyes, have made our workplace better. So.
Police Board Chair Kristen Oliver says she's responded privately to Woods about the issues raised in the letter, and she plans to address the situation with the media tomorrow.
A 27-year-old Thunder Bay man has been charged with attempted murder in connection with a shooting on May Street 9 days ago. Carter Duquesne also faces break-and-enter and weapons charges stemming from the incident that occurred on October 23rd that sent a male victim from the Niagara region to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Cade was arrested during another home takeover that occurred this past Saturday morning on Lincoln Street. He and 3 other people face a variety of charges in connection to that crime, including break-and-enter and possession of cocaine and fentanyl for the purpose of trafficking.
Thunder Bay OPP is now releasing information about an arrest and the seizure of a handgun that happened last Tuesday. Police were called to a single vehicle collision just east of Chappaqua. The 2 male occupants suffered minor injuries, and it appears one of the men discharged the handgun and also stabbed the other man with a needle. A 23-year-old from Brampton is facing numerous charges, including assault with a weapon, as well as careless use and discharging of a firearm.
The Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting 6 new COVID-19 cases over the weekend. And according to Lakehead Public Schools, at least 1 case is associated with Hammersholt High School. The school board says contact tracing has begun and anyone affected will be contacted by public health. Those who are not contacted aren't considered to be at elevated risk. And here are the numbers over the weekend. 3 of the 6 cases are in the Thunder Bay area, while the others come from First Nation communities. There are 2 close contact infections. 4 exposure sources are unknown, and there are now 14 active cases across the health unit's catchment area. Over in the Northwestern Health Unit, 2 new cases are being reported, 1 in the Rainy River District and 1 in the Dryden Red Lake area. Those are the NWHU's only active cases.
The Ford government says it's close to deciding whether or not to impose a mandatory vaccination policy for Ontario's frontline healthcare workers. Critics say a plan should have already been in place. Colin DeMello explains.
In just 14 days, unvaccinated employees in Ontario's long-term care sector could be locked out, prevented from entering nursing homes over their vaccination status.
In the case of long-term care, it was very clear that this was necessary. We needed to protect our most vulnerable.
But as that deadline approaches for thousands of employees, thousands more are faced with uncertainty. The Ford government has yet to decide whether frontline healthcare workers will be subject to mandatory vaccination rules.
It's still undecided at this point.
The government says it is close to receiving all of the responses from hospital CEOs on the staffing impact resulting from a mandate, and close to making a final call. But the minister offered up an example today of a situation Ontario is looking to avoid.
In British Columbia, as the member may know, they've had to cancel some of their surgeries because they have 4,000 people that are going to be leaving that are not vaccinated. So this is a very important consideration.
The long-term care sector has staffing concerns as well, but it placed the needs of elderly residents ahead of unvaccinated employees. The minister in charge says the province is working on a staffing solution.
We have the mobile emergency support teams that we used in the past.
If it can be done for the long-term care sector, some say it can be done for healthcare as well.
Thousands of internationally trained nurses, doctors, others from a variety of professions. Why has there been no plan in place from the very beginning of the pandemic to get those individual professionals out of the bleachers?
And to other critics of the government, the difference in approach is confusing.
It just shows complete inconsistency, and that's really troubling. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
It's left healthcare workers wondering exactly what the government is going to do next.
Today marks the start of Treaties Recognition Week, and officials at Lakehead University and politicians at Queen's Park are highlighting the need to educate people on the importance of treaties. The university kicked off a week full of events today. Kurt Black reports.
Treaties and Reconciliation Week began at Lakehead University with a 16-panel display set up by Anishinaabe Aski Nation to educate the public about treaty relationships and to dispel commonly held myths about Indigenous peoples. Monday also saw a virtual opening ceremony with remarks from Lakehead University officials, guest speakers, and Fort William Chief Peter Collins. Lakehead University Vice President David Barnett spoke on the importance of this week in order to strengthen relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples.
Lakehead University honors the importance of treaties and helps students and residents learn more about treaty rights and relationships. By learning more about our collective treaty rights and obligations, we can create greater understanding and nurture these relationships.
For the full schedule and more details on Lakehead University's Treaties Recognition Week, you can visit the school's website. Meanwhile, at Queen's Park, Kiiwetinoong MPP Sol Mamakwa called on the Ford government to drop its appeals of the Robinson-Huron Treaty Annuity court case. The annuity has seen no change since it was set at $4 per person in 1874.
Treaty is a sacred agreement that is to be interpreted in a way that serves both parties, end quote. Speaker, again, will Ontario stop wasting time and resources and finally honor the promises of the Robinson Treaties?
Ontario's Attorney General Doug Downey wouldn't comment on the ongoing dialogue involving the Act, but did stress the importance of the matter for the Ontario government. That sentiment was echoed by Indigenous Affairs Minister Greg Rickford, who spoke on his first-hand experience of the impact treaties can have in our communities.
I've seen firsthand the importance of making modern treaty relationships real and meaningful for Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples alike. Deepening our collective awareness and understanding of treaties can help us nurture and advance these relationships and help us move forward together along the path of meaningful reconciliation.
Kurt Black, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce is gaining national support after successfully passing a local resolution aimed at addressing the improper collection of duties at border crossings like Pigeon River. When locals order items and have them shipped to Ryden's store for pickup, the Chamber says the Canada Border Services Agency is often not charging people the right amount of duty for items coming into Canada. Products made outside the U.S. and Mexico require a duty charge, and concerns are growing that these additional fees aren't being processed. Local Chamber President Charlotte Robinson says local retailers are impacted by this as they have to pay full duty when ordering items, creating an unlevel playing field between consumers and sellers. Robinson adds the pandemic exposed the discrepancy as customers were complaining after receiving rightful duty charges through delivery services.
Because the border was closed for so long is when it really came to light that this was actually happening, because now anyone who did order a package and have it sort of shipped to Ryden's, because they then had to use a commercial delivery service to pick up that, then they were getting charged that duty, and then they're going, oh well, I bought this before and it's never been charged. Why is that happening? And so then they're getting, educated that, well, that's because you've basically been getting a free ride.
The Canadian Chamber of Commerce will now be pressing this issue at the federal level. Robinson says they've estimated the lack of duty collection reduces federal revenues by $1.3 billion per year through the postal system alone.
Changes to restrict commercial traffic on East Avenue are being proposed at tonight's City Council meeting, as residents have raised concerns over tractor trailers parking behind County Fair Mall. A draft bylaw that would restrict vehicles over 10,000 kilograms on the road will be presented tonight, which administration is recommending. It comes after a motion tabled in June by McIntyre Councillor Albert Aiello, who has heard extensively from homeowners that the trucks are a nuisance. He says they pollute the air for those living behind the mall and create noise at all hours of the day, among many other concerns.
Interrupting the day-to-day lives of our residents. And the other factor you really have to look at is just garbage that's left behind. It's not uncommon to see the area full of bottles full of urine and just garbage that's in their truck.
Also at tonight's meeting, Councillor Andrew Folds will look to convince his colleagues to commit Thunder Bay to a net zero climate pledge. One of its main focuses will require the city to test out zero-emission electric transit buses by 2025.
Railway repairs in the south end of the city have closed a portion of Cameron Street beginning today. The repairs along Cameron between Waterloo and Bernard Streets are expected to take 5 days. However, that timeline could be extended by weather or other factors. While the road will be closed to through traffic during construction, local traffic will still be permitted. Those traveling near the construction zone are simply asked to use extra caution and obey all posted signage.
Members of the Black Sheep Mountain Bike Club have been waiting patiently for the new skills park at Trowbridge to be completed. And now those mountain bikers are finally able to show off their high-flying skills. Danielle Bain reports.
With limited time until the snow arrives, the anticipation for the new mountain bike skills park at Trowbridge was felt throughout the Black Sheep Mountain Bike Club. Many members of the club and the public showed up for the opening of the park and could barely contain their excitement, including 16-year-old Mason Moselle.
Oh, it's just deadly. To have these young kids out here, oh, it's way better. You know, it was a dying sport before. Now it's back up where it should be.
In 2021, the Black Sheep Mountain Bike Club is the biggest they've ever been. They have over 500 members, up from the less than 300 they had in 2019. And Vice President Mark Moranzin said the turnout is better than he ever imagined.
It's been amazing to see the growth in the young kids, the families, especially the last few years with the club. And obviously you can see there's tons of young kids out here today hitting the lower lines, and it'll be great to see how they progress over the next few years thanks to stuff like this being built.
The original budget for the project was around $180,000, and Ian Shaw, owner of Precambrian Natural Surface Trails Inc., says they finished very close to that budget when the park was done. Shaw was extremely happy with how it turned out.
On the coolness factor, it's very cool. I would have given a lot to have something like this when we were kids, because we used to have to kick around in the dirt, and we didn't really have anything this safe or accessible when we were growing up. So it should be cool to see the level of talent that comes out of this.
Moranzin thinks this park will be huge for mountain biking as a sport and for the economic impact it will have in Thunder Bay going forward.
It's great for the regional approach, for the tourism. Obviously, we've been getting a lot of interest from all over the country with people crossing Canada this summer and noticing what's going on. But it's also about the health and wellness of the locals and having something great for the community here. So we're really excited to see what that's going to offer us over the next coming years.
In the spring, the final touches on the area will be finished, including more grass to be planted, a new shaded structure, and a new play structure as well. Danielle Bain, TBT News.
The third annual Novemberger campaign kicked off at the Prospector Burger Barn today to help raise money for the local United Way. The Barnyard Burger is among the entries from the 17 local restaurants taking part in this year's campaign. $2 from each specialty burger sold this month goes to the United Way. A full panel of Novemberger ambassadors joined in for the launch of the campaign, and CEO of the United Way, Albert Brulé, can't wait for the community to taste this year's offerings.
It's a perfect win-win. The theme for our campaign this year is local love in action. And, you know, if you love burgers and you like to be active, you just have to get out there, try all of these different burgers, and know that you're also helping address issues of poverty, helping provide food access for members of our community.
I think it's a great cause, and it's a good incentive for people to support local on top of supporting a local charity. And what better way by eating burgers?
Last year, the campaign raised more than $18,000 with more than 6,300 burgers sold. And now, with the most participating restaurants yet, United Way officials hope that they can beat last year's total.
A homeowner in Nebing has captured some rare nature video of an encounter between a porcupine and a lynx. The two animals were caught on a trail camera last Thursday near West Oliver Lake. The lynx saunters up beside the porcupine and shows some interest in it, wagging its little tail. But then the porcupine gets its hackles up and raises its quills. The lynx wisely decides to keep walking on by. Property owner Cindy Long says they set up the camera hoping to capture video of a cougar or a rare gray fox. But instead, the camera sent a still photo of this unique encounter. Long says she was excited to download the video and see what happened next, and now she's sharing it on social media.
Yeah, pretty cool. Not often that you get to see those types of interactions. Well, Fiona, it was a chilly one, especially this morning. I know it took some elbow grease to scrape the frost off my vehicle.
Well, that was because we started off with a low of -2 and a wind chill of -5. Unfortunately, that's pretty normal for this time of year. We've been so lucky in the milder temperatures, but it's definitely a cool start to the week. We topped out with a high of 4, again, very seasonal for this time of year. Started out with lots of sunshine, increasing clouds throughout the day, and winds at times a little bit brisk, northwest up to 32 kilometers per hour. Now, there are parts of the region that have been seeing light snow. Fort Frances, daytime highs hovering pretty close to the freezing mark, has seen some light snow begin in that part of the region. Kenora at 0, -1 in Dryden. Red Lake has stayed clear thus far, but it's a little bit cooler. They're currently at -2, -1 in Sioux Lookout and Pickle Lake. Armstrong on the freezing mark. Greenstone on the plus side, but they've been waffling just above and below the freezing mark and have had periods of light snow off and on last night and again this afternoon. Marathon on the plus side at 4, and Sault Ste. Marie, very much seasonal and milder than anywhere else. They're currently at 6 Celsius, so instead of snow, they're dealing with a light rain shower at this time. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay, we are going to see even more clouds roll in, and we're going to drop down to a low of -2. Unfortunately, you got to get used to those cooler temperatures because we've got some very chilly air pushing its way into the Great Lakes. So tomorrow's going to be another cool one. Here's the good news: if you're not quite ready to embrace those cooler temperatures, we might get a break during the second half of the work week, and I'll have more details later on in the news hour.
Well, glad to see that we don't have snow quite yet. Thank you for that, Fiona. And when we come back, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is over in Scotland with other world leaders for the COP26 Environmental Conference. We'll have details on some promises he made as your Monday News Hour continues.
It's 1 minute to midnight on that doomsday clock, and we need to act now.